So if you've been following us around here or on social media, you know how much we love long exposure photography, especially daytime long exposure. And to do that, you need to use neutral density filters. And for most lenses, it's real quick and easy to do. But what do you do if you have a lens that's not standard size, like a fisheye lens or a super telephoto lens? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you about the homemade accessories I use to allow me to shoot daytime long exposures with lenses like that. Stick around. So in order to be able to shoot long exposures in the daytime, you need to slow down your shutter, which means you need to reduce the amount of light hitting your sensor. To do that, we use neutral density filters just like these. They come in all different sizes for different lens sizes, and they come in all different magnitudes. Some like this only slightly darken the image by maybe 3 stops, and there are others that darken it by 10 stops or more. And filters like these fit on your conventional lenses. This is an 82mm size. This is the largest size I have for regular lenses. And if I have a lens that has a smaller filter thread, like 67mm or 72mm, I use a step-up ring to be able to use this on that. So I really only need one size neutral density filter in different magnitudes, covers all my lenses, except for my fisheye lens and my super telephoto lens. Now my fisheye lens is the Canon 8 to 15mm f4 lens. It allows me to zoom from a completely circular image at 8mm up to a cropped fisheye at 15mm. And if the front of this lens, just like every other fisheye lens, protrudes off the front. Otherwise, if it didn't, you'd actually see the edge of the lens barrel in the image, because you're basically getting a full circular 360-degree image. So because of that, the lens sticks out beyond the end of the lens. So there's no place on here to put a filter. But there is a place to put a filter on the back. So if I take this off, and I'll show you what this looks like in here, you can see there's a little slot in the back of the lens where I can slide filters in. Now there aren't pre-sized conventional filters available to buy, so what you have to do is buy a sheet of gel filters, different magnitudes, and cut them to the size that you need. So let me show you what I did. So you can buy these online. I'll put a link below to the ones that I bought. And they basically come in a sheet. Same thing that I showed you before, except it's just gel paper. And again, it's in different magnitudes. So this is only maybe about 1 or 2 stops. This one here is probably 3 or 4 stops. And I have some really darker ones also. So from there, I'll cut out a template, the exact size that I need these filters to be. This way I only have to measure it once. So this is for obviously my 8 to 15mm. I measured out exactly what I would need to fit in the back of the camera, and then I can just cut as many filters as I need out of my gel sheets and keep them with me at all times. I used a little SD card holder. These fit perfectly into that. And I have this with my neutral density filters in my little filter pouch. And now I have a whole series of little neutral density filters that I can use in the back of my fisheye lens. I'll need to stack probably 3 of these in order to get something like a 10-stop neutral density filter using the fisheye lens. This is going to slow down your photography pretty dramatically, because there's a lot more trial and error using things like these than there is if you're just going to screw a neutral density filter right onto the front of your lens. You know, these aren't marked as far as, you know, what magnitude each one is. You just have to kind of pull it out and look at them and try to figure it out. I'll use my light meter that I have on my phone, and I'll shine it through that and try to get an idea of how many stops each one of these is. But, you know, when I'm shooting an image, I kind of have an idea how many stops I'm going to need to slow it down to maybe 2 or 3 seconds long. And then I'll try to, you know, add these filters as I need them to get to that shutter speed. Like I said, a little bit of trial and error involved. It's going to slow you way down, but that's what it's all about. You're going to be shooting on a tripod, definitely. It's going to slow your photography down, so it's not really for run and gun shooting. If you have people who are waiting for you, you know, this is a whole different thing. It's really going to slow you down, but it's really worth it in the end, because like I'll show you an image here that I took using the fisheye lens. It's at a pier right near me. I went down to take a couple of sample shots. So I shot one here like this, using no filter on it, just using the fisheye lens. The shutter speed is, I think, 1/200th of a second. It kind of freezes the whole image. Not a terrible shot, but you can see how the water is just kind of frozen, and it just looks like basically a standard snapshot. So then when I add the filters to the back, and this gave me about 10 stops or so of neutral density, it slowed my shutter speed down to about 4 seconds long. And now you can see here how everything that was in motion kind of smooths out. All the water, all the waves just smooth out into like a nice blur. Not the greatest photograph in the world, but I was just using it for an example here. You can see exactly the effect that it gives you. So, you know, we always talk about using neutral density filters in the daytime for long exposures here, and you don't want to be left out with certain lenses. You know, using a fisheye lens gives you a really cool effect to begin with, and then to be able to use the added neutral density filters to really make a much different image than anything that you normally see, really just adds to the benefit of having a really nice lens like this. Now, along those same lines, I also want to be able to use a neutral density filter with my big Super Telephoto lens. This is the Canon 300mm f2.8 lens. It's one of my favorite things to use in the world, but it's big and it's heavy, and as you can see here, the front glass element is really way too big to have a conventional neutral density filter screwed on. Even if I did have a filter that I can screw onto the front of this thing, I wouldn't want to carry it around with me all day. It would be too big and heavy. So in order to use a neutral density effect on a lens like this, basically what you can do is very similar to what we did with the fisheye lens, is you can actually put a filter in the back of this lens, and I'll show you how. There's a little drop-in thing right here in the back. You squeeze it, you pull it out like this, and this is just basically a clear filter that goes right in the back of the lens. Now I can swap this out with a circular polarizer that comes right into here also, which allows me to use a circular polarizer filter with a lens like this. But this is basically just a clear piece of glass. So what I can do with this is I can open up the back. There's a little door here. Open that up, and now inside here I can put a neutral density filter that I've cut out of that same piece of gel paper I used for the fisheye. I can cut it out. So I've made myself a template for this also, for the exact size that I need. So I don't have to remeasure it each time. I can just cut up as many of these things as I want. So now I have neutral density filters that I can put right into here. So I have them along with all my other neutral density filters in a little pouch. I just slide this into here, close the door, and now I am ready to use this on my Super Telephoto lens. Slide it right into the back, and now I can shoot long exposures in the daytime with a lens like this. Something like this is really great to use for long exposures, for like waterfalls, for getting details of things. Wherever there's moving water, I love to use something like this because it slows everything down, allows you to use a nice long shutter speed. And when you're shooting in the daytime, you need something to block the light to allow you to use a longer shutter speed. And being able to shoot with a Super Telephoto lens like this, and to be able to slow everything down and take long exposures, really gives the images that you're taking a unique look. So I love this for waterfalls especially. So when you're cutting these things out, when you're making these little gel filters for yourself, like I said, make yourself a template based on the exact size that you need. You know, with the fisheye, if you don't have that little slot in the back where you would put the filters into, again, it's gonna slow you down a lot, but you can even tape a piece of filter, gel filter over the back of the lens, as long as it's not touching the element. But make a whole bunch of them because, you know, I do drop them, I lose them, they're tiny little pieces of plastic. They're gonna get crinkled, they're gonna get dirty, so just make a whole bunch of them all at once. Take a few out with you and then just kind of replenish them whenever you're running out. You know, shooting long exposures in the daytime is so much fun. It really gives everything a really cool look to it, especially if you're shooting, you know, things that are moving, like people moving around. If it's a cloudy day and it's a little windy, you're gonna be able to see the clouds moving kind of in streaks along the sky. Like I said, moving water is really the best, as far as I'm concerned, the best for stuff like this. But anywhere where there's things in motion, even if you're shooting something at a quarter of a second or a half a second long, just to show that little bit of motion, really is a cool look, and we love using these things all the time. And to be able to use them along with unique lenses like a fisheye or the Super Telephoto lens will really give you a lot more opportunities to take shots like that. So I hope you found that useful. It's a really cool, cheap little accessory that you can add to your bag that really makes things more fun to do. If you have anything like this that you've kind of come up with, any little tips or tricks for doing stuff like this, definitely put it in the comments below. If you have any questions about what I did here, also put it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. So I hope you liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Definitely subscribe to the channel and click on that little notification bell. This way you get notified every time we post a video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.